Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your UGC NET educator. In this new YouTube video that I have brought forth for you, we are going to start with the new writer altogether, right? So we have covered one female novelist already in one of our videos which were related to Indian literature, and she was Kamla Markandeya. You heard it right. We have covered her. We have tried to talk about that how the themes which were there in her novels were the ones which were representing the East and West conflict. Same is the case here about the writer that I am bringing forward in this very video. Her name is Bharati Mukherjee. You must have heard, or if you would have analyzed the previous year question papers, you would have come across this name as well, right? Even in the set examination, net examination, so on and so forth, she is one of the prominent Indian writers, correct? So let's just first of all see, as always, that we have a picture of her here, and she was born in the year 1940, and she was born in Calcutta, which was, called Calcutta at that point of time. In today's time, it's Kolkata. And she passed away in the year 2017 in New York. Correct? So she is known as British Indian and American writer. Correct? So she was one of those people. This is what we have her image as, and the most prominent themes, if I am supposed to talk about in her works, we see that the flawed characters. She has many characters who are flawed in their nature, right? Now, flawed in what sense I am saying? What sense are we talking about the flawness that is there? The characters that she has here are the ones, first of all, who most of the times are suffering from the alienation that comes along with them being immigrant in a particular foreign land, right? So how a person gets alienated from where they belonged to where they are now, correct? So this is what she deals with in her novels. So the cultural changes and the alienation in the immigrant experience is one of the prominent themes which is there, right? And her works also feature cultural clashes. The kind of cultural clashes we saw in Kamla Markandeya's works were direct and indirect as well. But the cultural clashes we see here sometimes are, spanning the time across years. Sometimes it's spanning the distance which is there. How a person, let me just give you an example, simple example. People in India say most of the times Punjabis, they want to go to Canada in their, words that they say. So after a person moves to a new land, he or she tries to settle there. The cultural identity, the, identification that he had here in India, living with his or her parents, etc., is different from where he is shifted now. He is alienated toward the culture that he is facing. The people there are new. The culture is different from the traditional Indian wala, right? So the cultural clashes can be seen, and undercurrents of violence also can be seen. Coming back again to the characters that I was telling you about, that we see that Bharati Mukherjee's characters are flawed because they are hell-bent. They are hell-bent on changing. They cannot change their destinies basically. And they are so flawed that they fail to even identify with one identity of theirs. They cannot know that, do I belong to a particular culture here or do I belong there? Right? So the confusion that a mind goes through, while settling from one culture to the other, same is the case with one being displaced, right? The diaspora that we do in Indian literature, it mostly talks about this immigrant experience and the alienation that comes along with that. Also, Bharati Mukherjee's characters, the women characters that she portrays, are the ones who are not so conventional. They are the ones who try to break the shackles. Basically, the women characters in her novels are not the conventional women, not conventional. They are seen to be having multiple affairs. On the other hand, if we talk about the male characters, in her novels, they are seem to be the ones who are tamed, right? So, tamed here, let me just write. They are tamed, they are, meek, the characters that we see here in her novels. The women here, if we're talking about the theme of violence, right, the factual information, in one of the novels that I've brought forth for you in today's video, titled as Wife Only, that has some kind of violence, the theme of violence, be it a verbal violence, be it, physical violence. Violence does not really and always comes in the form of physical infirmities, right? Now, let's see here the quintessential themes as I bring forward. The theme of metamorphosis. Have you read Kafka's work? Metamorphosis, this is the statement that has been used there. Metamorphosis means a certain kind of transformation. The transformation of a person's identity, physically, one way or the other, and same is the case when we talk about the characters here in Bharati Mukherjee's novels and works which are there, that they transform from one culture to the other, and so on and so forth. That they do not really know where they belong, right? The theme of the journey. Why do I say journey? Journey is seen in her novels. She has also been a writer who has written travel literature as well. Right? She has written travel literature. She has written short stories, short fiction as well. So that is why the theme of journey. Next, existentialism. Do I exist or do I not? Do I belong to something? Do I not belong to something? That inherent feeling that in today's time we human beings usually have. We feel that the life is purposeless, right? The theme of feminism, told you about that women in her novels are non-conventional figures. They take a stand for themselves most of the times. They stand against the violence, the mistreatment that they are getting from their husbands and the other patriarchal figures which are there, right? The theme of loneliness, again related to the theme of alienation, right? Now, talking about the first work of Bharati Mukherjee, she wrote, the first novel is titled as The Tiger's Daughter. It was published in the year 1972, and just because there is no, or a very little summary available on the internet, so you'll go through that, the entire summary on your own, overview from my side. The protagonist here is named Tara, right? An Indian woman named Tara, shocked by her immersion in American culture. And on returning to India, she finds that the Calcutta, the city of Calcutta that she knew before going to America, it has also changed. So you see, the change has led the character named Tara to feel some kind of alienation from the culture to which she belonged and the cultural shock that comes along with that. She feels that she does not belong anywhere. She wanted to come back to India to gain that cultural sense back again, right? After her immersion in the American culture. And when she comes back, she finds it has also changed. Here again, let me just give you an example here, quick again, giving you the example of Punjabis and Canada only, right? We see that how, if we say a person has gone to Canada, right? A Punjabi has gone to Canada, and when he comes back after 5 years, let's say 8 years, initially before moving there, he used to sit अपने village में, अपने पिंड में, he used to sit there under the tree having their lunch in their farms. But when he came back after 8 years, he is seeing that all those cultural things have gone. He is now sitting with his family in a particular room and eating. So the touch, the culture, the cultural touch that it had before 8 years, now after he came back again, he lost that as well. So he was na idhar ka raha, na udhar ka raha types. Correct? The alienation that comes along with that as well, that he does not know that does he belong to Canada or does he belong to India? Because India has also changed. Same is the case with the prominent, you know, the protagonist here named Tara. She does not know how to deal with this very thing, and that's why she is shocked. And the shock here is related to culture, the changed culture. Here is the image, the cover page of the novel. Let's read what has been written here. Mukherjee writes with beautiful precision, neatly needle pointing our malevolent world. A world which is cruel, right? Malevolent world which is cruel in nature, right? Next word of, the next work of hers, that is Bharati Mukherjee's next work is Wife. Published in 1975, again about an Indian woman and her descent into madness because of the fact that the culture of her homeland and her new home in New York City. Bharati Mukherjee herself was living in New York City, and of course we say, there was even a previous year question which was there, that in the writings of the writer, you can see some tinge of their own experience. So her own experience is being voiced here through her works like Wife, correct? Tells the story of Dimple Dasgupta, this woman who turns mad, right? A young Indian woman whose arranged marriage to an engineer clashes with her romantic dreams. She had those romantic dreams of Shah Rukh Khan, Kajol, etc. The movie-like romantic dreams that my, man will come on a horse, etc. Somewhere or the other. The Prince Charming stereotype that we usually talk about. But when she gets married, first of all, her marriage is arranged, right? No love marriage, no love hence is there. And she is married to an engineer who abuses her. Now you see the theme of violence here. But she stands up for herself. Correct? This is the cover page. Let's read it here again. Mukherjee has built a small, fine, provocative novel that sparkles with the accuracy of its detail and rings with an inner terror and truth. The terror of abuse, the terror of a question that where she belongs, right? Does she belong to India? Does she belong to the New York City? The terror of not having any identity. Right? So this is the cover page of her novel, Wife. Third novel, which is the prominent one here, of which I would like you all to read an entire summary on your own. Now, third novel published in 1989, titled Jasmine. It's about the story of a protagonist who moves from a small village of Hasnapur, which is in India, Punjab, to Jalandhar, to Florida, to New York, and to Iowa later on. So, in next slide, when I'll show you the character list and I'll show you the different names of Jasmine, you'll be wondering like, why is she having different names here in the novel? Why the protagonist is being called by different names here? The thing is, that is the beautiful thing done by Mukherjee, that she is showing us that how even with the loss of national identity, or how there is a clash of national identity versus the personal identity. Why do I say a clash between a national and personal identity? Because of the fact that nationally she is also moving, she does not know where she belongs, right? And personally also her name keeps on changing when she moves from one place to the other and so forth, right? So this is the cover page. Jyoti Jasmine Jane Race. The protagonist and the narrator of the story is Jasmine only, hence the title of the novel here. And you see the four names. I already gave you the example of the clashes that we have here. The theme of alienation, right? The theme of having an identity which is lost between nation and personal choice, right? And she had a husband named Prakash, who was her first husband and who is known as a modern city man, right? Then we have one work of hers is a short fiction, right? So she was writing short fiction as well. So her genre was not really totally related to novels only, but she was writing other works as well, as I gave you the example of travel literature, right? So the short fiction, first book of short fiction is titled as Darkness, which was published in the year 1985. And it has one of the most prominent stories, which is known as The World According to Sue. These are the indictments of Canadian racism. You see the theme here. Traditional Indian views of women. So these two prominent themes of racism, the views of Indian women, right? And their edgy inner lives, the domestic life as well. Correct? Other works here are Desirable Daughters, published in 2002, and we have The Tree Bride. Now let's read the explanation that I have brought. The first one deals with the depiction of Indian caste. So in the previous one, in the short fiction, she was talking about the Canadian racism which is there, because in Canada it is said that there are many indigenous tribes which live, correct? Coming to Desirable Daughters, published in the year 2002, talks about Indian caste and the immigrant experience of reuniting dissimilar worldviews. The worldview of the East and West, how that is being combined here, right? The second book, the other work, which is a sequel to Desirable Daughters, is known as The Tree Bride, which was published in the year 2004. After 2 years of The Desirable Daughters, it has issues of the time-spanning ramifications of colonialism. So Desirable Daughters talks about the Indian caste system. Here, The Tree Bride talks about the theme of colonialism. And then we have her last work, her last novel, which was known as Miss New India, published in the year 2011, right? Now, she was also the one person who was writing. First of all, when she passed away in 2017, she passed away because of a stress-induced heart disease, right? That was told to us by Clark Blaze in one of his interviews when she passed away, right? That she died because of the reason for her death was a stress-induced heart disease. Now, coming back to her being a writer, she was writing with her husband as well. So this person that you are seeing, the name here that you are seeing is none other than the husband of Bharati Mukherjee, Clark Blaze, and with him as well, she was writing this memoir known as Days and Nights in Calcutta, which was published in the year 1977, when both of them traveled to India to visit the beautiful city of Calcutta, and how their 14-month stay was there. So it is a memoir which is written by both of them, right? So an amalgamation of the writings or the writing style of Clark Blaze with Bharati Mukherjee, both of them. The second thing is The Sorrow and the Terror, which again is written with, Clark Blaze only, which has a subtitle, The Haunting Legacy of the Air India Tragedy, which happened, right? And they got it published in the year 1987. So it talks about the Air India tragedy, which happened years back. Now, certain questions that I have for you. which are important. That is why I have brought this very question on purpose so that you all can read the summary of the novel Jasmine. First question is, what shape is the scar on Jasmine's forehead? The answer to this question is option D. That is, the scar on Jasmine's forehead is in the shape of a star. एक तारे की तरह है, right? Then we have the next question. You are supposed to match the writer along with the works which are provided here. The answer to this question is, you can pause your screens if you want more time, correct? But of course, the answer to this question is option. Here is the code. Option C. That is 1, 2, 2, 3. 1, 2, 2. We have 3. We know Bharati Mukherjee. We have just done Jasmine. Michael Ondaatje, Anil's Ghost, Cyril Debizine, Drums of My Flesh. Right? So this is all what we were supposed to cover when we were covering Bharati Mukherjee, her themes of alienation, the immigrant experience that she talks about, the women characters which are portrayed beautifully in her novels, which stand up for their own selves, but are of course torn between their own identities as well. Even if they stand against their husbands, they are torn between their personal identity and the national identity that they have there. Correct? So this is all what we were supposed to cover in today's YouTube video, which was related to the concept series and related to the prominent writer named Bharati Mukherjee. I'll bring again a new video. Till then, you keep on revising. I'll see you again. Have a good day and thank you so much.